Teddy Morris, arrested for the shooting of Hustler owner Larry Flint, has been released. It's been determined that he was in Norfolk, Virginia at the time of the shooting in Lawrenceville, Georgia. Morris apparently made a phone call saying he knew who shot Flint. His attorney says it was a bad joke. Flint, meanwhile, has been taken off the critical list, and the hunt continues for his assailant. Bill?
There was a break today in a case we've been telling you about, the case of a retarded woman who was lost and unidentified for a time. Eyewitness News helped to break the case. Roseanne Scamardella has the story.
This is your baby? Huh? What's that? Oof. A dog. Oof.
Her name is not Doris Doe, but Doris Hines, and she's not in her middle teens as doctors guessed, but 26 years old. The severely retarded young woman ended up at Jamaica Hospital last week when she was found wandering around the Queens subway station. Doctors say she was filthy, ravenously hungry, but generally healthy. They had no idea who she was. Her speech is virtually incoherent. Her mental development at the level of a 5-year-old. Last night we told her story and received a number of calls which provided bits of information which directly led to her mother and family. They live in the Bronx. Doris was identified by people who remembered her from the 48th precinct, where she likes to visit. She was described as a chronic runaway. Late this afternoon, Doris and her mother were reunited. She went home, not to an institution, thanks to all the people who cared enough to call. The Bureau of Special Services for Children assured me that they would provide help to the family, that much-needed help to care for Doris. Roger?
I never thought 7 years time we'd be a couple. 3 years of my life in the motherfucking hustle. I left school, GED bound, I studied. Attend classes in the area called Fresh Metal. My insight was off, I was struck for lost. My self-esteem, it came since the thought was small. Nonetheless, I had the reason to stick out my chest for pride. So behind fear I hide. If it wasn't for mommy and daddy, had it not been around, I probably bought myself with the Clyde. See, I'd go back and forth job hunting, no luck. Or for my girl, cause rap time couldn't be done without bucks and mom's feet in the dirt. Then I'm a bum, faking moves when I'm around, treating me like a son. Now, I got dreams, so I shot my demos, no success. A&R's giving me in-nose thrust. Same thing, now I'm dragging my chin. Sarcastic, cause if it had, then I have scabs. But what a life as a teenage kid. Bad traits, but OC never did a bit. I kinda thought I sorta myself as extra odd. Left to me, I give myself an award. Old girl, all pretty, all sedity and shit. Thinking I'm the only one, the only man she hit. You see, girls can't do the same shit men do. Call me a chauvinist. Fuck it, honey, I speak truth. You're into reggae. Hey, Gamey, if you want, I'm hip. You play me out with Fiardi, he said hard as this, but for Acura. So if I set out to get, and it just so happened you gave up the slip now. Since I'm going through her, I feel like manure. My heart is broke, and my mind is in the sewer. I'm crying too much, and it's got to stop. Took up a rag to a point that it feel like sock. Look upon to my boys, the sensei. Let them say the pain is too deep to penetrate it with Ben. Ben say, hey, you're old, hit the grave with that. So I clear mine and write, cause he's right and exact. It's work, then it's that I feel hurt. I don't smoke word tonight. Pass me a stick of the herb. So I choke thinking back how life is trife and all the hookers out of them. Looking sharp as a knife. Looking sharp as a knife. Hookers out of nets, looking sharp as a knife. Looking sharp as a knife. Looking sharp as a knife. It's all the hookers out of nets, looking sharp as a knife.
evening. Officials say there is no reason to panic, but there is a new scare tonight concerning AIDS. Blood bank officials are contacting individuals who may have received contaminated blood. Louis Young has details.
AIDS came on the scene silently at first, a hidden killer which is still difficult to detect. We know the victims carry the virus, but so do thousands of others who live normal lives unaware of the potential danger in their bloodstreams. Some, it turns out, have donated blood, passing the danger to others. About a year ago, blood banks around the country began screening their donors for the presence of the AIDS antibody in the bloodstream. That generally indicates the presence of the virus. Now, every time they identified an AIDS-carrying blood donor, they'd go back through the records to check to see if that person had ever donated blood before. And some had. Right now, the National Red Cross estimates 3,000 patients may have received such suspect blood since 1980. 500 of those people are New Yorkers. They will all be contacted and tested themselves for the AIDS antibody.
It's troublesome news. We get a lot of troublesome news in our lives. People are able to cope. I think people are able to cope better with knowing that they will be told the truth.
But what does it mean? Of the 3,000 people being contacted, the experts tell me half will get a clean bill of health, testing negative for the AIDS antibody. More than 1,000 will test positive with no other outward sign of disease, and an estimated 450 can be expected to contract AIDS and sadly die. Our Eyewitness News physician, Dr. Jay Adlersberg, says the carriers will have to change their sexual habits to prevent a further spreading of the disease.
People who test positive for the AIDS antibody surely can have sex, but they should follow the safe sex guidelines that have been set out by the committees who discuss AIDS, and that is to limit oral sex and, while having intercourse, use condoms. Condoms are the safest way to prevent the spread of the AIDS virus.
In fact, safe sex is where the experts are concentrating their prevention efforts to stem the spread of AIDS. The blood supply, they say, is statistically very, very safe. Although for an unlucky few, it was not safe enough. Louis Young, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Police in Brooklyn are looking for the man they call the Spider-Man rapist. He struck again today, the fourth time he has attacked a woman in her apartment while other family members were there. His latest victim was sexually abused but not raped in her home near Sterling Place and Vanderbilt Avenue in the Crown Heights section of the borough. Police say that he came in through a fourth-floor window near a fire escape. All his attacks have taken place within a 20-block area, and he uses the same methods.
In the early morning hours, from 4 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock in the morning, he enters through a window. He's armed with a knife. He wears dark clothing and a ski mask.
He is called Spider-Man because he takes leaps or walks through narrow ledges to get to the upper floor windows, and he robs his victims too. Now, in today's incident, he tied up the victim's husband before taking her stereo and other property. Police describe him as black. He is 5'8" to 5'10", weighing about 150 to 160 pounds, with a scant goatee. Now, if you have any information, you're asked to call this number, 718-287-0311. There has been an outpouring of sympathy and support for Stephen McDonald, the police officer shot in the spine Saturday in Central Park. His father, a retired police sergeant, met with reporters today to express the family's appreciation. Tracy Egan was there, and she's joining us right now with the story. Tracy?
Ernie, the father, David McDonald, took time out from his vigil at Stephen's bedside to tell the public there's no change in his son's condition, and the family welcomes our concern. David McDonald told reporters his son understands everything that's said to him. But Stephen McDonald has not asked about, nor has his family told him about, the Saturday shooting in Central Park. He was shot when he attempted to arrest 15-year-old Shavod Jones, who allegedly pumped 3 bullets into McDonald. His father was asked if he's angry that the courts freed Jones after he was charged with an armed robbery, and a probation officer ignored a plea from Jones' mother to lock him up.
It's not an emotion or a desire of ours right now to be angry. We've got too much to be sorrowful for. And right now,
apparently the public is moved by the plight of the third-generation New York cop who lies in the intensive care unit here at Bellevue, paralyzed from the neck down. Hundreds of people have called the Patrolmen's Benevolent Association asking what they can do to help. So the PBA has set up a special fund for the McDonalds. Contributions can be mailed to the Police Officer Stephen McDonald Fund, care of the PBA, Box 771, Church Street Station, New York, New York, 10008. David McDonald said his family is moved by the public's desire to help.
As the spokesman for Patty Ann and my wife and my family, it would be the largest thank you card the world has ever seen. Stephen is that kind of a boy, a man. He always did bring out the best in people. It's a shame he had to do it in such a tragic fashion.
There is a chance that Officer McDonald's paralysis will go away when doctors are able to remove bullet fragments lodged in his spine. But it's just a chance. His father says the family welcomes our prayers.
Good evening, I'm Roger Grimsby. Here now the news. Another piece of New York fell by the curbside today for who knows how long. The evidence of our crumbling city, this time parking meters, vital cogs in the revenue machine. Milton Lewis has been following the meter service mess for months, and he begins our series of reports on New York in decay.
It probably won't come as any great surprise, but now it's official. There are now even more headless and or faulty parking meters than ever before. And as a result, the city has stopped paying the firm responsible for keeping those meters in good shape.
All these meters, including the one I'm holding, which must weigh at least 30 pounds, were supposed to be installed today. But there'll be a delay.
And the company, S&D Maintenance, kept its truck's garage today. It also laid off some 106 people. S&D, which got a 2-year, $14 million contract last summer, contends that the city owes it about $3 million. And until that little matter is straightened out, well, it just won't fix or replace any meters. The head of the company, Henry Simpson, refused to be interviewed today on camera, but conceded it was obvious that the traffic department was not overjoyed with his firm's performance.
As you probably know, there's a great deal of meters in the city that are not operating, and therefore they're not performing according to the terms of their contract.
What figure would you estimate are not operating properly?
They're probably between 15 to 17,000 meters.
Out of 64,000?
That's correct.
And are they demanding payment of $740 per month for each meter, whether they're working or not?
That's correct.
How would you describe the job that S&D Maintenance is doing?
Well, it was poor performance. There were at least 6,000 more that are not operational now that were operational at the beginning of the contract.
I'm standing on 72nd Street, just east of Broadway, and virtually as far as the eye can see, there isn't a single meter with a head on it.
How long has that meter in front of your store been decapitated?
I would say approximately 6 months.
The meters should be fixed, otherwise they would take the meters away and let people park, because it's ruining business on the street.
These meters have been in this condition since probably last May or June. We've had a number of correspondence with the parking division. We've asked them to please try to fix these meters. They don't fix them.
Well, the traffic department says that S&D Maintenance is not doing a good job.
As far as I can see, they're not doing any job.
The real tragedy of all this is that the city, long a victim of the shorts, is losing a bundle. Oh, I guess I forgot. What I'm saying is, the real tragedy of all this is that the city, long a victim of the shorts, is losing a bundle. How can you feed a meter if it doesn't have a head? Bill?
And then there's the West, standing as it does in mute and rumbling testimony to the fact that much of this city has to be rebuilt. Entire sections have been barricaded for months now. Traffic has had to be rerouted into angry neighborhoods of the West Side. Chi-Chi Williams is in one of those neighborhoods at the moment now, and she has a live report for us tonight. Chi-Chi?
Bill, traffic on West End Avenue has been tied up pretty much like this for the last several weeks, ever since the West Side Highway was closed from 42nd to 72nd. Now, the highway has been crumbling for some time, and a group of West Side residents today decided that they'd had enough.
We have had this traffic problem before. We were told to be patient, it would never happen again. But like the blackout, it has happened again.
A group called West Side Action for Repair Now is demonstrating at 72nd and West End Avenue because they claim Governor Carey isn't doing enough about the West Side Highway problem.
The West Side Highway is a state highway, Route 9A. If the governor gave the order, state repair crews could be down here within hours to get the highway repaired, get this traffic off our streets and back on the highway. The motorists want to be back on the highway. We want them back on the highway. we're leafleting the motorists to tell them to write the governor, tell him to get off his duff and get this highway fixed.
West Side Action for Repair Now stands for WARN, and that's what the group says they're doing. They're warning Governor Carey, and they hope to back that warning up by getting motorists like these who have to put up with the traffic delays to get in touch with the governor and do something, get him to do something about the problem. Meantime, they say they're going to back the leafleting up with a meeting this Friday with city and state officials. Roger?
The decay plaguing our city has also spread to city zoos, badly in need of help, as we hear from Gloria Rojas.
The animals that live in the city zoos in Central Park, Prospect Park, and Flushing share with us the discomforts and occasionally the pain of too few dollars for too many needs. Take the lions. Imagine these beasts with picket signs around their necks protesting the fact that these quarters are too small, in fact, inhumane. There's only one sea lion in the pool. There used to be 3 cavorting together. But until the city gets a new filtration system, the Department of Agriculture won't allow us to have any more. And how's the money going to filter down to sea lions? According to Parks Commissioner Gordon Davis, it's the big mammals, like the elephant, who have the need for expansion. Tina lives in a cell that looks like she really had committed some bad crimes and she's confined to it for life. What would you envision would be proper for an elephant, and what would the budget be like?
Well, she's not confined here year-round. There is space outside which she has access to. But in general, the New York City zoos, the Flushing Zoo, the zoo in Prospect Park, and Central Park Zoo, do not have the room for larger animals. They were built in the 1930s at a time when conceptions about what was an appropriate zoo and the size was quite different from today's conception about the appropriate size. We would need a substantial amount of money to increase the size or repair or renovate the facilities to bring them up to what would be modern standards of modern zoo standards for larger animals, I think.
The care of the animals is barely adequate, says the commissioner. The problem, not enough workers. Their numbers were cut by 50% in the budget crisis. And the zoo people have problems too. Their wages were frozen in 1975 and someone forgot to freeze their expenses. Even polar bears wouldn't like that. The zoo the children visit today is bleaker and less populated than the one their parents saw. The solution may lie with the New York Zoological Association, which runs the Bronx Zoo.
We're trying to come to some agreement about a program of action involving the New York City Parks Department and the New York Zoological Society, wherein they could assist us in renovating facilities such as these and in operating facilities such as these. I might add, however, that they have the same money problems we have.
The birds in the birdhouse were shipped out to Staten Island during the construction of the subway here, but now that that's just about over, the birds are coming back. The birdhouse will be modernized. There's money in the budget for that. Birds, after all, are very small. Gloria Rojas, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Some of the talk about making things better comes from Police Commissioner McGuire, who speaks of hiring more officers. But even that may crumble. The department confirms today there are plans to drop about 1,000 policemen through attrition by next year, a savings of $20 million. Bill?
And so the city continues to stagger beneath the weight of its multiplying fiscal problems. In recent days, we've shown the plight of the Manhattan Bridge, the rollers on top of it frozen, its roadbed badly in need of rebuilding. One engineer says, in fact, it will not be safe by the middle of the summer. And underground, here too there is deterioration. A sewer cave-in yesterday reminded us we should be spending as much as $7 billion if we expect sewer survival. John Johnson gives us an overall view of the crumbling city and the bills we've run up.
The city is living on borrowed time with no money in sight to renew itself. We're not talking about great leaps forward. We're just talking about staying on our feet. For months we've been filming pieces of the rot, bridges eaten away by salt and soot and neglect. The Queensboro so badly undermined, its movable lower platforms condemned. This bridge alone, not to mention the Manhattan Bridge described yesterday, will cost anywhere from 12 to 16 millions to bring up to snuff. Our waterfront, a disgrace. Only half of its 578 miles put to profitable use. The West Side Highway, a visible skeleton in our closet, condemned from the Battery to 57th Street. Ring up 100 millions if you want to put it back into service. Surface transportation, strangled by a minefield of potholes. We spend 20 millions a year where we should be spending 500 millions. Pieces of rot, Fit them together into the grand design of what we need just to stay where we are, and the bill comes to $24 billion. It hurts to tell you we have only allocated less than $500 million this year. If you need a symbol to carry the message home, take a good look at the majestic facade of the Woolworth building. Its proud head is hooded in netting to keep its stones from falling down. The Woolworth building is just one of those special New York goes begging.
We're told the secret interrogation of Tan Sung Park is now coming to conclusion. The Korean businessman now being pressed for details on money given former Congressman Otto Passman, Cornelius Gallagher, and Richard Hanna. And the Wooden Bowl Parade on behalf of New York City continued in Washington today. Governor Kerry asking for the minimum amount of aid needed to help the city financial recovery.
There's a neighborhood in Jersey City whose life has been disrupted by a job of construction. Angry words because of that today, and Bob Miller reports.
Crescent Street in Jersey City is the focal point right now for a redevelopment program which has been going on in the neighborhood for some time. And it's also the focal point for considerable discontent.
You know, between you and me, whores, and I'm a woman that express my expression.
But you say they shouldn't have started it now?
Of course not. After all, first of all, let's face it, you got a pile of snow, right?
Yeah.
We had snow piles. What happened? They turned around, they came over, they put the snow against the people's property. You couldn't have no food coming in, you couldn't have no mail coming in. We have to suffer. We understand we need sewers. We understand we need water.
But not at this time of year.
Water and sewer service were okay in the block while I was there, but apparently that's not always the case.
Before the day is over, it'll be off.
Wait, does it happen every day?
Yeah, every day.
And for how long?
Oh, say hours at a time. Sometime, like, you don't get through cooking your meals till, like, say, maybe 9, 10 o'clock at night because you have to wait for water.
And then we're not notified when it's going to be turned off.
The residents are having their problems, but so is the construction company.
Is this job taking longer than normal?
Slightly.
Why?
Well, mainly because you're dealing with the replacement sewer. It's not the same as a brand new installation on a sewer line. You have a lot of objects in your way. You have old lines and older lines in the same areas. Most of the records are inaccurate. For example, over here, we have an existing sanitary sewer, an existing water main, and it should be approximately 7 foot apart, and it's a little closer than that, and it makes it a little more difficult to work. When you're doing replacement, it's a very slow process, very slow.
Also, the informational picket line set up by the Heavy Equipment Operators Union doesn't help. The pickets say the construction company isn't paying its men the prevailing wage. Construction and consternation are expected to continue on Crescent Street for another month or so.
One Jersey City official on the scene told me that the delays and interruptions were unavoidable, and it was a matter of the people wanting the improvements without wanting the inconvenience. Roger?
Geraldine Clark, 35, a high school drama teacher in Ann Arbor, Michigan, has been fired for kissing one of her male students. He's 17 and we don't know who told. So much for an ardor at Ann Arbor. The Board of Inquiry preparing the coal strike report for the president is expected to present it tomorrow. And if they determine a national emergency, Taft-Hartley can be invoked. The Panama Canal vote in the Senate is going to be close. It's believed 12 senators still have not made up their minds. The vote on the first of the Panama treaties is 8 days away. Bill?
Yesterday we told you about a recent report saying that something like 30% of the chickens on the market in this country may be contaminated. Consumer reporter Evelyn Cantor was out today checking on that story.
Do you like to eat chicken?
Yeah.
Yeah? Tastes good?
Yeah.
Yeah? Are you worried that the chicken's going to cause food poisoning in your family?
Not particularly. I tend to cook it pretty thoroughly. I'm not going to let it go raw.
The report reviews government regulations of the poultry industry. We all know the chicken is a dirty bird. The potential problem comes when processors give their plucked birds a communal bath. Unless the water is changed constantly, there is a danger of passing germs from one bird to another. Yesterday, these birds were pecking and scratching on the farm. They were slaughtered, processed, and shipped overnight in ice, and supermarkets started to pick up those birds this morning. That's less than 24 hours from farm to table. According to the industry, fast marketing and lots of ice minimizes the possibility of salmonella poisoning.
That water in any plant that I've ever been in is constantly changed, so it's no longer common water.
So that each chicken is getting kind of its own private bath?
Almost. There's so many inspections on poultry, both at the plants and within the city here. I don't see how something of that magnitude could ever get by.
You've never gotten sick from chicken?
No. You can get sick from chicken if it's not handled properly after you buy it.
Another problem with water is that chickens absorb it like a sponge. Do you know what this red water is over there on the packages?
Blood, I think. Blood.
Do you know that it's melted ice that you're paying for at chicken prices?
Really? No, I didn't know that.
What do you think about it?
It's a chip.
Like it or not, you are paying for that water and ice. Federal regulations allow chickens to soak up to 12% water. And it's not just chicken. There's water in other meats, too. A bird in the hand is worth taking care of. Once you get your chicken home, it's your responsibility to avoid food poisoning. Be sure to cook the bird thoroughly, and don't leave it out at room temperature either before or after you cook it. This is Evelyn Cantor, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Food shoppers in New York may have finally gotten a break in their budgets, as we hear in this report from Roseanne Scamardello.
Now the weather conditions are getting back to normal, so are prices. The cost of feeding a family of 4 went down last week. The largest drop at the produce counter. A plentiful harvest in California brought the average price of a head of lettuce down 14 cents to 56 cents. And sales are widespread. At Food City, iceberg is 45 cents each, save 24 cents. By now, the California mudslides and rainstorms this weekend have already affected wholesale prices. They're up by a third. Meat, finally in abundant supply. Sirloin steak went down 25 cents to an average price of $1.94 per pound. And at Key Food, chickens, 45 cents per pound. My tip for this week, never throw away the wrappers from margarine or butter sticks. Refrigerate and save them for the next time you need a pan greased.
Past and present students at Queens College are under investigation, the result of a reported scheme to change grades by computer. Chi Williams reports the scandal has shaken many of the students on campus.
Are you upset?
Oh, sure. It brings dishonor to the school. And the school has been known for integrity.
That's the feeling of many of the students we talked to at Queens College today after they learned about the computer grade tampering. We're not allowed to film inside the registrar's office, but a 1975 graduate of the school who worked as a data processor here admitted tampering with his grades and those of 11 other students after a professor noticed a discrepancy between the grades in his own records and those he received from the computer. What happens to the 12 who were involved in this now?
Well, they'll all be called in to be interviewed and be given an opportunity to present their side of what happened. And then we'll take it from there as to whether or not disciplinary action has to be taken and what the nature of that disciplinary action should be.
Reaction of the students we talked to ranged from anger to blaming what they call lax administrative procedures.
I can understand. I think it, has a lot to do with the records department, the management department. I think it doesn't stem from just these few people. I think it stems from higher up. And I think if records were kept better and management was kept better and things are dealt on a personal level instead of everything computerized, I think it'd be a lot better.
Students that I've spoken with, they're very, disgusted with the whole thing. To think that, you as yourself do your work very hard, and you get your B+, for staying up and writing papers. And then another student who has a friend who works in the registrar or in the work with the computers can get an A.
The administration has instituted additional safeguards to prevent a recurrence of the tampering, and the administrators here say they hope to complete the investigation before the end of the term. Chi Williams, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Ethiopian and Cuban troops apparently are having their way with Somalis in the Ogaden Desert. They are being driven back to the border, a fact admitted by the Somalis themselves. Bill?
This next generation that is not...
Why is Suzanne Summers telling the Star her story?
Because the Star has a reputation for fair and honest reporting.
Why is Suzanne talking about her past?
I'm sure everyone has some negatives in their past. When things are going really good for someone, people are always trying to find something to squash it.
Suzanne speaks frankly about the star.
I think it is accurate, and I think it's fair, and I think it's very well written.
Read her very frank interview, only in this week's
Star.
Star.
But Mickey Rooney says he's retiring from show business after 50 years in it at age 57. His agent says, though, it's typical of Mickey Rooney to announce his retirement and then go right on working. And he says Mickey Rooney will go right on working. In her campaign against homosexuals, Anita Bryant often uses the phrase, "Save our children." No more, though. The Save the Children Federation has gotten a court order in Florida barring Miss Bryant from using the phrase anymore. Save the Children has had trouble raising money because some people confuse their campaign with Miss Bryant's. Well, if you saw a green muscle man streaking through Times Square this morning, he was the Incredible Hulk, also known as Muscle Man Lou Ferrigno. Used to be Mr. Universe. Now he's a comic book hero on television.
We'll look at the market and the map and hear the music in a moment.